Hello everyone, welcome back to Global Government News. This is the second video in this July 28th News Bulletin video series. This next article that we're going to cover is called Graham, Prosecute WikiLeaks, and this is from The Hill, and it was posted today, July 28th, 2010. It says Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina on Wednesday called for criminal prosecutions of WikiLeaks, the website that published classified military documents this week. Graham, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee and a reserve military lawyer, seemed to go further than other GOP colleagues by calling for the prosecution of WikiLeaks itself and not just the source of the leaks. I am willing to prosecute anybody who led to the undermining of the war effort, right? That's typical fascist talk. Typical, I mean, dude, I'm sure that fucking Hitler, Goebbels, Goering, any of them, I'm sure that they said the same thing, undermining the war effort. In fact, I know that Goering said used that word or that phrase, undermining the war effort. As far as I know, there's no immunity for a website to be able to pass on documents, Graham added, responding yes when asked directly if the website should be prosecuted. And yeah, so WikiLeaks this past 7 months or 8 months or so also leaked documents concerning climate change out of this research facility in the UK called East Anglia. If you're not aware of it, I think most of you are, where they leaked documents where it was showing that all these people that believe in global warming, mostly these institutions that are promoting it and trying to pass legislation and bills and treaties and all that to limit CO2, were actually manipulating the buoy data to basically cover up the fact that the water temperatures were a lot lower than expected and that the last 10 years, the last decade has been cooler. And so they were trying to figure out ways. There were emails involved in those where there's emails going across with these people trying to come up with ways to sell global warming or climate change while the data didn't reflect their argument, their phony theory. So again, with the war in Afghanistan, as everything's pretty much going to hell in a handbasket with it, and they've pretty much lost almost all political support, including other countries have been pulling out of Afghanistan. They're still trying to keep it going. But yeah, so that's that. This next article is from the Times of India, and it says U.S. paying Pakistan to kill American troops. And this was part of the WikiLeaks documents that were exposed. One of the other things was that bin Laden, I guess, was in these documents. But instead of having bin Laden and his whereabouts and locations discussed in these in the leaked documents, and that it was more about his kind of his legacy, because it's my belief that he is working for intelligence agencies and has been just a face for young Muslims to look at as far as the whole movement goes, towards killing the West and all that goes. But he is a son of a wealthy, oil-rich Saudi family, and so I don't believe he's a real terrorist. I do believe that he works for Western intelligence. So yeah, I think that's kind of important. But it says a treasure trove of U.S. documents implicating Pakistan and its support for terrorism exploded in the public domain on Sunday, sending officials in both countries scurrying to defend a dubious alliance and straining a phony partnership based on misreading of ground sentiment and situation. WikiLeaks, a whistleblower organization that publishes sensitive government leaks from anonymous sources, put a staggering 91,000 documents, mainly ground reports from U.S. military personnel, in public domain on Sunday. Many of the documents expose Pakistan's double-faced policy of fueling terrorism in Afghanistan while claiming to be fighting it as a U.S. ally. In effect, the chronicles suggest that Washington was blindly paying Pakistan massive amounts of money for access to Afghanistan, even as Islamabad uses its spy agency ISI to plot the death of American and NATO troops, allied Indian personnel, and undermines U.S. policy. So the devastating leaks showed that Pakistan allows representatives of its spy service, ISI, to meet directly with the Taliban in secret strategy sessions to organize attacks against American soldiers in Afghanistan and even hatch plots to assassinate Afghan leaders, including President Hamid Karzai. And it says the New York Times were one of the 3 media organizations to make sense of the massive cache of documents while not disclosing how it got hold of it. Yeah, and that's one of the things the Obama administration and the White House basically praised the New York Times, because the New York Times came to them first before publishing it and letting them, you know, get permission to print that, right? Because it's a free press. I mean, it's not the exact same situation, but it's eerily similar, to the McCarthy hearings, right, and communists, and chasing and hunting down communists. And in the end, you know, McCarthy ended up being kind of a whack job, and people bought into it a lot. And then eventually they're just like, hey, you know, get the hell out of here, dude. You know, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. And his own masters, which probably condoned what he was doing, just left him out to dry. But the flip side is that it was the media back then, and Edward Murrow and that helped stop the McCarthy hearings and that. But now you just have, you know, since 9/11, just basically they call it a lapdog press, and they do work for the corporations, they do work for the military-industrial complex. Otherwise, they wouldn't be printing all of this crap that they do. Because they're not looking out. The papers aren't looking for. They're not representing. Just like the politics don't represent their citizens, the press doesn't represent the consensus, or they're not trying to provide information to the public so that they can make informed decisions. They're just a filter. And that's exactly why they went to the White House before they published the story. And the next video that we're going to cut to is from Al Jazeera about the Pakistani airline crash, what the Pakistanis believe could be, well, they are going to investigate.
Rescuers picked through the smoldering wreckage of the Airbus jet. The Air Blue plane came down in the morning in the Margalla Hills in Islamabad. More than 150 passengers on board. Reports suggest air traffic controllers told the pilot to divert due to poor weather, but lost contact with the plane shortly after.
I heard the sound of a blast and learned that a plane had crashed in the Margalla Hills. I rushed to the location and found the wreckage of the plane. I don't think anybody could have survived, as pieces of bodies were scattered all around.
According to initial reports, the plane was supposed to land from the Kahota side, but it was given directions to come in from the Rawalpindi side. Following that circle, we're also told that the pilot had descended to 2,600 feet, but then immediately after that the plane ascended again to 3,000 feet. That factor was a bit unexplained, so we'll keep an eye on it. But let's wait for the inquiry from civil aviation.
Heavy rain hampered initial rescue efforts. Forestry workers and the military the first on the scene, but civilians from nearby also joined in the effort. Army helicopters ferried troops into the area to help with rescue and recovery, and were seen carrying what looked like body bags back to the local hospitals, picking through the mangled wreckage in the hope of finding survivors. But it was now official that there were no survivors. The plane is said to have crashed on a mountainside which is thickly forested. It is under cloud cover, and that is what is causing more complications for the rescue effort. Pakistan's Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani flew over the scene of the crash, ordering an investigation into the incident. He expressed his grief and sorrow. Family members gathering at local hospitals, desperate for news, fearing the worst, as early reports of survivors were said to be incorrect. Emergency workers have continued to recover bodies from the hilly site, but wet weather, fires and a smoldering wreckage is hampering the rescue effort. Kamal Haider, Al Jazeera, Islamabad.
So there you go, and please join me for the third video in this news video series. Thank you.